Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing.
Just drink some
Uh,
hair water.
it's the podcast that drinks hair water.
Ah,
Our first
Uh,
sponsor.
my crotch is so wet.
Sponsored by Hair Water.
And
And
talk
wet
about it,
crotches.
apparently.
Uh, we are here tonight. I'm Brett. We've got Cody here, and we have Joe and Justin. And we're here to talk about a recent release on Netflix. But before we go to that, let's start with how about Joe? What have you been up to recently?
Oh, not a ton. I guess one thing I wanted to mention is Friday night, Alexis and I went to see some live stand-up comedy from Mark Maron, who is
Ooh.
someone I've been a fan of for a long time. I actually saw him live once previously, like 10 years ago, probably in Chicago, and he was great then. And he was great this last time. I was expecting him to get into some political stuff, but I was not expecting the way he just dove head first into it right off the top of his set. He just like went right into talking about the state of our country and how great things are and how awesome Nazis are.
Uh,
um, but yeah, that was great. It sounds like he's gonna be filming a version of the set that he did for release on HBO in the near future. So I'm curious to see if that is quite as hardcore on the political stuff, but keep an eye out for that if you enjoy comedy, because it should be pretty entertaining.
No one likes comedy.
I mean,
Comedy's illegal
there
now.
are people who genuinely don't, which is weird to me, but
Ah,
um other than that, the only other thing I wanted to mention, I seem to often bring up things that I have discussed previously on the podcast, but over the past week, I have found myself getting back into Balatro, which I was pretty into for a while and kind of got away from. And for some reason recently, I have found myself succumbing to its siren call once again and trying some new decks that I hadn't used before and trying some different strategies. So if you, like me, have enjoyed Balatro and not played it in a while, pick it up again because it feels like there's always a new approach you could take.
Nice. Well, Justin, what have you been up to?
uh, let's see. God, what have I been up to in the past week or so? Really not a ton new. I guess on the subject of casual yet strategic games, I've still been playing more of the Bazaar, which is in its actual full release now. Still free, and still fun. I'm still terrible at it, but every time I load it up, it feels like there is a new approach I can try, and I respect that about it. It's gonna take a while before I find one that actually works, apparently, but it's still a very fun game that I do highly recommend. Um, Other than that, I haven't really been up to a whole lot lately. Just kind of business as usual, and yeah, I was the plan was to finally get back to the long postponed Pathfinder game I'd been running this past weekend, but I guess you could say I have been one of the things I have been doing is dodging sicknesses left and right because a bunch of people are getting sick at my work. My wife has had kind of a stomach bug for the better part of, I guess, the worst part of a week, which kind of really puts that sort of thing on hold. And stay healthy out there, folks, because it's I guess we have two cold and flu seasons now instead of just in the fall. Um, but yeah,
And
I
COVID.
oh man, but yeah, I haven't really had a whole lot else new to talk of, so yeah, that's kind of it for me.
Cody's your crotch right now?
definitely not. Nevertheless, I shall persist. I think somebody said that once. May not have been in reference to a wet crotch, but just a couple quick small clips for me. Went to a Major League Baseball game today, Red Sox, White Sox. It was very cold, but the Red Sox won. A very close, uneventful game. Wasn't a lot of action during the game, more of a pitcher's duel on a cold day. It was fun. My daughter just completed her 3 shows of The Wizard of Oz, the musical, which was a lot of fun for the family. And it was nice. We all got to pitch in various aspects of that as well. Um, and I feel like there was something else I was going to mention too. Justin, what was it you were saying about dodging what? What was the sentence? How'd you use that?
Oh,
Or no,
dodging
before that, it
illnesses.
was like strategic gaming or something you were
Oh,
If you
saying.
can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
No, he didn't say that.
Simple yet strategic games.
That's what it was. I also voted recently, so we had that going on down here also. And I feel like there was something else I was going to mention, but I really don't know what it was. I was going to start a new video game last night. I was looking at some of my backlog and then ultimately hemmed and hawed around on my phone for like an hour. And by the time I got done with that, I was just like, I'll just play Zelda. And then I loaded up Zelda. And then my family walked in and I played for like 5 minutes. So it didn't really matter anyway. But I did look at the Observer on my playlist, Justin. So there was that.
Sounds
Oh,
like you're
nice.
going to be looking at some backlogs after you record this episode.
Maybe this episode will never see the light of day,
Ooh.
like the Golden Idol.
Oh.
If you haven't picked up on that little joke yet,
Uh,
there is no Golden Idol episode.
huh.
Shh. Speaking of wet crotches, Brett, what you been up to?
Well, if you have the choice of being in an ice apocalypse, I'm going to recommend not being in an ice apocalypse, as that was one of the most horrendous events of my life. We here in northern Michigan, a little over a week ago, we had an ice storm come through, basically freezing rain, which took out a lot of power lines, trees, and things in the area. We ourselves were without power for a total of about 5 days or so. Without proper power, we had a generator after like day 3, and it was very much not fun. To be in that situation in the winter where you can't run your furnace. All your refrigerators and freezers and things are all turned off, so your food's starting to go bad, and it was a very, very stressful period, but we got through it. And it was actually, like, we went out at one point to buy some groceries from a neighboring city because they had just gotten power back. And I sent you guys pictures of it. It was just incredible. It really looked like the entire world was turning to crystal. Just everything was just completely coated in shiny ice. It's just like reflecting the light everywhere. Really pretty surreal to see in person, but yeah, very much glad that is over. In terms of fun things, I recently just installed a game which was my number 3 most anticipated game of the year, titled Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days. So I haven't gotten to play it a lot yet, but it does seem to be they've made a little bit of improvements over the demo that I tried, and I have been enjoying it so far. So maybe I could be able to give a more in-depth report on that later. But and the last thing I'll mention quickly is I have started the kids. The kids received a batch of just old Pokemon cards from their cousins a while back, and I noticed they started like playing against each other, not using official rules, just kind of making up their own rules as they're going. But it sparked me to start collecting cards with them. I like going out and buying new packs and collecting cards. So
Oh no.
we've been on a Pokemon card collecting journey.
Oh no.
Oh, that's how they get you.
Gotta catch them all.
Yes, you do got to catch them all. Among the things I've caught so far are I have 4 cards, and this I know is like you have to get these things graded, and the grading system is difficult to get. Like, just because it looks like a great card doesn't mean it's going to be a perfectly graded card. But I have 4 cards currently that have a total value of just under $700. So we'll see. I'm sure I'm going to get those graded at some point and possibly sell them off, and that would essentially, fund everything that I bought so far and fund future purchases. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get into our topic for tonight. So this is, as I said, was a recent release on Netflix. It is titled "Gold and Greed: The Hunt for Fenn's Treasure."
How to tank and benefit off the stock market. Oh, wait.
Yes, that would be gold and greed. Indeed.
The Hunt for Fenn's colon.
So, in short, this is a 3-episode series on essentially a documentary on the search for Fenn's treasure, which just a little bit of backstory on that. So, Forrest Fenn was this guy. He was in the Air Force during Vietnam. Later owned a successful art and artifact gallery in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And in 1988, he was diagnosed with cancer, which kind of inspired him to kind of like do something big with what he felt was his remaining time on Earth. And so in 2010, he self-published a book titled "The Thrill of the Chase," a memoir, which was a collection of short stories from his life. And in this book, he describes a treasure chest that he said contained gold nuggets, rare coins, jewelry, and gemstones, claiming in the total worth was between $1 and $3 million. He went on to write that he hid the chest, quote, "in the mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe," which is a rather large area to search. Fenn said that the stories in the book included hints to the chest's location, and that the poem found in the chapter "Gold and More" contained 9 clues that would lead a searcher to the chest. And I will read that poem quickly here for you. So it read, "Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of Brown. From there it's no place for the meek. The end is drawing ever nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down, your quest to cease. But tarry scant with marvel gaze. Just take the chest and go in peace." So,
that part didn't even rhyme. Come on.
I did note that myself. So between the book and this poem with clues that he published, so I think somewhat slowly at first, but eventually started gaining speed and became this rather large treasure hunt, which I believe he was quoted as saying he believed it would take like 900 years to solve this puzzle.
A very humble man.
Yes.
Which to point out, like, that's not even feasible. You can't have a treasure hunt be 900 years after you deposit something. We can't even figure out what the hell happened like 300 years ago.
9 million years.
9 bajillion million.
I don't think there even is a Forrest Fenn. I think it was just a proxy old man who was acting as if he was Forrest Fenn. And then when I found the fake old man, I called the phone number and nothing happened.
I'm sorry, Joe.
That sounds like something that might happen later.
What?
So let's lead into that. So this documentary, while documenting the hunt itself, also has a lot of segments with interviews from a set of hunters, actual hunters, who went out looking for this treasure. And so we have Cynthia Meacham, who was an engineer for Nikon, and then now I guess she calls herself a full-time treasure hunter. She began looking for the treasure, and in 2013, she actually met him, where they rather quickly became friends. and
Oh,
talked a
yeah, they
lot,
did.
and
They boned, right? Like they totally boned.
They had to have, yeah.
She at least strongly suggested that they had some sort of intimate relationship, I feel like.
she
Hmm.
did say that he like touched her soul and then wouldn't comment any further on it.
Hmm.
So um that was a little bit weird, but
I'll give you a clue.
Speaking of home of the Brown, I mean, what?
oh, dang, that is treasure.
So I was thinking that the poem had to be about a bathroom, right? Because it was like where warm water stopped was the faucet, the home of the brown was the toilet.
I don't know.
A
There's
lot of,
also something about heavy loads. I'm just saying it's all
yeah.
right there.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
we we also had interviews with the Hearst family, father and two sons. One named Chris. The father was named Chris, and the son was named Christopher, apparently. And I don't know that we ever got the name of the other son, to be
I think
honest.
we did.
May not have had a
Did
name.
he talk at all? Like, I feel
Yeah,
like
the
he was
middle
just
guy.
sitting there. Yeah.
He talked more earlier in the
Oh, that's fair.
documentary than later.
Yeah, I think so.
But they were great. I loved the Hearst family.
Yes. They
Almost as much as they love meth. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Hey, I liked them way more than
Not
Cynthia.
any-
That's
That's just
fair.
me.
You know what? The one guy got clean and good for him. I was glad to hear that.
yes.
Right?
They are definitely the definition of uh getting an idea of something and latching onto it and not not looking in any other direction. And I'm sure we can come back and talk about that more in a bit, I'm sure, because they very much were like one of the more interesting aspects of this documentary. We also had a man named Justin Posey, who was a software engineer, and he used a lot of kind of like science and like high tech solutions to try and find this treasure.
Yeah, good luck with that, Justin Poser.
Yeah.
Call yourself a treasure hunter.
We also had Lou Boyer, who was an airline pilot, who coincidentally managed to find clues that led to the property of an acquaintance of Forrest Fenn, which was kind of wild.
Was that even really confirmed? He said that he like believed there was a strong connection between the owner and Forrest Fenn.
I think it was confirmed in
Okay.
it later.
Dug up the
more or
names
less
and yeah.
confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I kind of just zoned out anytime that
I
guy
think he
was
said
on
like
camera
the
because
guy who
I
owned the
hated him so
property
much.
turned out to be the son of the guy who knew Forrest. Like they
Oh.
were right there connected,
Yeah.
which is bizarre.
Yeah. If
Unless
it could just
Forrest
be a
Fenn
coincidence.
owns the entire West.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess so. I guess we could just talk about some of these characters here for a bit, because it was very interesting. Just that we didn't. It wasn't just a dry, just talking about the events of the hunt. We got these stories with these people, and some of them were like pretty touching or interesting or humorous. But you guys have anything you want to say about any of these people?
The variety of theories they came up with was pretty astounding. I do have to admit. Like everything from where the warm water ends, if your body is a set temperature and anything above that feels warmer. So if we convert Fahrenheit to Celsius and do that on this latitude, then it's got to be right here. There's that. Or like maybe the real treasure is like symbolic, or the treasure we're supposed to find is symbolic, and he'll point us to the actual treasure if we find the symbolic treasure. And it's just really, really wild stuff.
I feel like that family was kind of sharing in either like a collective mania or at least just like magical thinking, because it felt like at every turn when something did not pan out, they're like, oh, but it actually means this, and now we're going to pivot, and it's this other thing now.
Right.
Like, oh, it kind of looks like a bear head, so that's the real thing we're supposed to. I mean, spoiler alert, like that's the treasure we're supposed to find. It's not a literal. After Forrest Fenn had said that it was a literal treasure chest that's 10 by 10 by 6 that he buried somewhere.
Yeah.
They're like, but it's not an
That's a
actual
smoke screen.
treasure. It's a metaphorical treasure. And we're supposed to boo. But I will say, I feel like I've been giving that family a hard time, but I weirdly found myself rooting for them. Like, of all the kind of families and hunters that we followed, I was kind of hoping that they would find it and, get a nice house for their family and whatnot.
And
Yeah,
honestly, like for a good portion of this, I suspected that they had found it
I
because
did too.
they were like where they're
That's us.
currently
Yeah.
where they were having their interview, presumably their home. It
Yeah.
seems like a very nice looking home.
I
which
thought that
is
too,
more
like
than I
from
was
the
expecting.
beginning, because like they show us that they were like living in a trailer, but then they are being interviewed in this like nicer looking home, and I think there's even like one or two exterior shots where it looks like not a trailer, like an actual like kind of
Mm.
nice house. So I was like, does this mean that? Well, they actually also show them, I think at one point, driving some like newer cars too, and I was like, does this mean that they found the treasure? I feel like the producers probably did that on purpose,
that was that sweet interview money.
Mm.
but
I was thinking, yeah, it might have been, revenue from, giving interviews and
yeah,
talks and stuff. Yeah.
First thing I thought of when we were introduced to all these people was how many other people were there that they tried to get the story for and ultimately decided not to use for this documentary, like this, because I don't believe they had estimated at one point there was like 300,000 people looking for this treasure or something at one point, and I
They
was
did
like,
say that.
bullshit.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like there was a community around it. Like they keep showing like subreddits and stuff, and like there's
300,000?
like I said, I'm not saying there were 300,000 of
Like
them,
one
but
in
I'm
every
saying that
1,000 people in America. I don't know.
I'm saying it does seem like there were a lot of people that were like invested in this.
Yeah, to the
Yeah.
point, to the people that they did introduce us to, though. I mean, they each did have something that kind of made me feel a little bit for their story and their personality. Like Cynthia, I enjoyed that she was like retired and was just kind of like this fuck it all attitude. Like, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
in the woods and who gives a shit if I look for 20 years on this? It's an adventure.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. The Hearst family, I liked them a lot too. I kind of secretly was pulling for them also, just for multiple reasons. The pilot guy, I don't think he was in the first episode. Didn't they introduce him at the end of the first episode, beginning of episode
Yeah, I think
two?
so.
Yeah.
Which I thought meant like he was the guy, right? Like they like bring him in later, and I was like, oh, okay. And then
Yeah.
I ended up just feeling bad for his family as he continually drove them to blocked fences on
I
private
mean,
property
Yeah.
I
as a
feel like
vacation.
maybe later we can talk about the actual production of this documentary and our feelings on the like the way it was structured, maybe things like that. But
I will say, it's just an
um,
aside with that guy. I thought, since he showed up at the beginning of episode 2 or the end of episode 1 or whatever it was, I thought they were just going to keep introducing more and more treasure hunters, up until the end. But I think he was the last one they actually
yeah.
brought in, and it just felt
Yeah.
odd to include
I
him.
kind of, yeah. I mean, I agree with Cody. Like, I feel like the way he was introduced, I think it was meant to make us think, like, oh man, this is the guy. And I feel like there are multiple things throughout the, episodes where it's like trying to, like cliffhanger or like, oh man, it's going to be so exciting now. Like, I think the first episode ends with, introducing the fact that people died during this quest.
Yeah.
It's like, tune into the next one because shit's getting extreme.
Shit happens. Also, no one should own as many computer monitors as the Posey guy because he was
Hey,
pretty confidently world domination type
he
thing.
is a software engineer, so I'm sure he
Uh-huh.
needs all the monitors. Also, I mean, I know software engineer is a lucrative job, but like, damn, he looked like he's living in like an insane mansion, and
Yeah.
Mm.
like he literally looks like he's living the life of some sort of like Bond villain or something.
Okay, but
Yeah.
that guy had
He does.
more computer screens than a Neil Breen movie. Like it was.
Oh,
I mean, I have friends who have like 3 screens set up, and they're just like small time like Twitch streamers.
Yeah.
Sure, 3. I got no problem with 3.
That's
It's
what
when
I
you
mean.
get over a dozen that it starts to get suspicious.
hey, did you see how big his clock was? I mean, this guy obviously has bank, so.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, you can't
I
afford.
try not to look
hands
at a
like that.
guy's clock to measure them as a person, but
I'm convinced there's a shot early on of him like winding or otherwise adjusting the giant clock, and I'm convinced that that's somehow a clue, but we'll get to that later, I guess.
this is not how Brett wanted this podcast to go. Come on.
I know, I'm sorry.
Keep it tight, you guys.
I'm drinking non-alcoholic beer. This is what happens.
Oh man. Actually, I don't know where I'm going with this now. So, um, I, 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 I guess let's just get into the kind of the controversy of it. Then I guess. I think the first big one I would say would easily be the first death, which you guys brought up briefly. A man named Randy Bilyeu, who was reported missing in January of 2016. And his raft and his dog Leo were found alive. The dog was found alive. The raft was not. The day after he was reported missing. And then his skeletal remains were discovered along the Rio Grande in June of that year. So he was the first official recorded death in this hunt, and not the last. So we had coming in 2017, we had a man named Jeff Murphy who fell down a steep slope in Yellowstone. We had a pastor named Paris Wallace who was also went rafting and drowned in the Rio Grande in 2017. And Eric Ashby also drowned while rafting, but he was in Colorado. We had fourth man, fifth in total, Michael Wayne Suxon, who died in 2020 hiking in the Rocky Mountains. So we had several deaths, and presumably that's. I would be shocked if there's more that we just don't realize were directly due to this hunt. Like people just went missing, and no one knew that that's why they went missing. Or
gotta be.
I definitely would not be surprised with that. But
there's 300,000 people, so it had to be.
Here you have it, folks. Forrest Fenn, the real life jigsaw killer.
Oh.
But. Yeah, the thing that gets me about this is his reaction. Well, he's just like, you shouldn't have to tell people that they shouldn't risk their lives for this sort of thing. That should be common sense. It's like, have you looked at America? I know you're old, dude, and maybe things were different back, maybe Pepperidge Farm remembers when common sense actually was common. But yeah, your average person on the street, especially if they're desperate for money, isn't going to use the best judgment. And you give them a secret treasure box out in the woods or the mountains somewhere. Yeah, they're especially when you include a line in your poem, "No place for the meek" or whatever. Yeah, they're gonna take that to mean there's some danger involved, and they're probably not going to really have self-preservation top of their list versus $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly kind of agree with Forrest on this, though, in the sense that like. I feel like at least most of these deaths were the result of people being fucking idiots. Like the guy who decided to try to raft down the river in January by himself.
Like, raft that he supposedly bought from Walmart.
Yeah, like not even like a sturdy raft that is made for that kind of thing. Like thank God his dog survived, but like I don't think Fenn could be accountable for the fact that like these people were just completely unprepared for the adventures that they tried to set out on. Like, I don't think he inherently did anything or directed people to situations that was, putting them in mortal risk.
Yeah, I'm probably somewhere in the middle because I do feel like it was the people's fault for the most part that went out. Just who would think it's a good idea to tromp through the Rockies in like February when there's snow everywhere and they're just dumb. But on the other hand, like I also understood a little bit how when people were like, you need to call it off, like too many people are being hurt or dying or whatever. Like I could see that side of it as well, but I kind of lean more towards Joe's side. I actually wish we could maybe do some state sponsoring of more events like this to kind of weed out other people.
Cull the herd a little bit.
We'll edit that out later. Let's move on.
Oh, hey.
What got to me was like Justin mentioned, like his quotes on it. Like I think the exact quote it was when asked about people going off and doing these dangerous things. He did say like the American people shouldn't need to be told these things, and he said, but there's always exceptions, and people will learn the hard way. That's a direct quote.
That is a little harsh.
He very like he could have taken that opportunity and said, because he's on national news program, just say to people like straight out, like you need to be safe. You need to have proper gear. You need to like know what you're doing. You can't just be some Yahoo and go out there. But he didn't bother to do that. And
That's
I
a
do
good point,
hold him
too.
accountable
Yeah,
for
that is
at
fair.
least.
Yeah.
You know, the actual hunt itself, I don't hold him accountable for any of that. But the way he handled it towards the end,
Yeah,
could have
I
been a lot
guess
better.
that is a good point. And I mean, I do
Yeah.
also feel like, especially after the first person died, and especially after like the second person died, I feel like he could have given some sort of clue to at least make it clear that it was not located in an area that required like these extreme measures.
Mm.
Like the guy who died from like sliding down a mountain or whatever, like I feel like he could have done a little bit to at least direct people away from some of the more dangerous situations.
Was it was it him or was it somebody else who said or implied that the treasure's not going to be hidden anywhere that an 80-year-old man isn't going to be able to get to?
Yeah, I believe
Somebody
he
said
said
that.
that directly himself, and then
Okay.
Cynthia repeated it in the
Yeah,
documentary.
So there was that, but
yeah, I did feel like a lot of the people seem to not take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
yeah.
just because there's not a lot of 80-year-olds off hiding a treasure box in the woods. I don't know. Maybe he's already
That's true.
the exception to the norm. So
True.
Fair.
So we had also a man named Pete Cassettis was interviewed as part of this. He was a former police chief of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he was one who directly called, literally and figuratively, on Forrest Fenn to call off this hunt and basically just end it because police across like multiple states were just throwing resources at like trying to protect people from themselves over this hunt. And he believed that it was just useless, that just a reason that there should be this reason out there why they have to spend police resources on this. And then he, for his efforts, actually received death threats himself for trying to keep people safe.
America.
Which kind of leads me into just this idea of there's so many like crazy, like obsessed people
Yeah.
around this hunt. Not only just the people going off and getting themselves into dangerous situations where they weren't prepared for, but people who were literally crazy now involved in this. Including one man who they told the story of in this documentary, who was arrested after breaking onto the Fenn property and into their guest house, claiming that the clues in the poem led him to that house.
Yeah.
Where
he didn't even flush the toilet.
Where
Yeah.
he drank their beer and shit in their toilet and didn't flush, and then tried to steal a box full of linens.
Well, I mean that's the land of the brown or whatever. I mean, like Cody said, so he was trying to put the foam together.
Yeah, he was on. Maybe he was onto something. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was, I think, the sort of mania around this was probably the most interesting part of this to me, because I mean you get the sense that like even if Forrest had tried to call off the treasure hunt after like people started dying, there would still be a lot of people out there that were like, well, this is just another clue. He's not really he didn't really remove the treasure. It's still out there somewhere. He's just trying to misdirect us, or like people would not have given up no matter what. I mean, spoiler alert, once the treasure is possibly found, like people still don't believe that it was like there's just these people are so obsessed with it that like it felt like nothing anyone could say or do would dissuade them from continuing to try to go after it.
Yeah.
That's like a microcosm of America today, though, right? Like it's what state did I just say? Oklahoma? Is that the one where they're switching the history curriculum to say that the 2020 election was stolen as part of their actual history curriculum in their school?
Oh man.
So people don't let shit go if, it's not exactly what they want the result to be of the things. They say it's a treasure hunt, but I mean, I feel like we have other examples of that in society. Fascinating to watch, but scary as hell when you see the implications of some of those things.
Yeah. Or even in the treasure hunt itself, like
That being
the
said, I would have flushed out of curiosity.
yeah,
Courtesy,
even
courtesy, wrong word. Not curiosity, not
what happens if I push
which
this?
is just button.
Where does the poo go?
It goes
Where
to
the
the
water
treasure.
stops being warm.
The poo is a proxy treasure. You gotta send a picture of your poo to Forrest Fenn, and then he'll tell you where the actual treasure is.
Right?
It's still less disturbing than the guy who was convinced that the real treasure was Forrest Fenn's granddaughter.
Oh, that was horrific.
That
Like
was,
that was
ugh,
seriously
yeah,
unnerving.
Yeah, so
yeah. It's all a metaphor, you guys. You have that was
Well, it
horrible.
does raise other questions, though, as scary as that was. Like, how big is her box?
10 by 10 by 6.
10 by 10 by 6. So we've lost Justin.
Fit a lot of treasure in there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we're terrible people.
okay, so I was gonna bring up that man being Francisco Chavez, who was the one who stalked Forrest Fenn's granddaughter. Apparently also goes by the name just Paco. He's like Prince.
Just like you.
Just like Prince.
Who, man, that guy's mugshot was terrifying just on its own. But he harassed the family. He would show up at their gate and just like stare at them. They had a restraining order. He broke that. He went to jail. He cut off his ankle monitor, and then finally went to jail again, where I hope he still is, but who knows at this point. And as he said, just because he believed that his Forrest Fenn's granddaughter was the literal treasure, which is terrifying.
Yeah, well, and was it the last time they caught him after he cut off his ankle monitor? He had like duct tape and all sorts of like
In his trunk.
weird, gross
Yeah.
kidnapping accoutrement in his trunk.
Hey.
Hey.
And so you guys brought it up a bit, but I it's really interesting, just like the wildly different ways to apply the vague clues that were given in this poem. So, from that first line, which starting where warm waters halt, and that was like people took that to be like warm rivers, or they could be hot springs.
Hot springs. Yeah.
And it literally, there was people searching in like 4 or 5 different states, let alone a specific area. Do you have any thoughts on that? I guess I'll just let you guys go with that. Just any thoughts on the poem, and just like how these people came to all these crazy locations.
I thought the interesting thing to me was just like how convinced they all seemed that like they were on the right path. And it's like just the fact that, I mean, like you said, it's like 4 or 5 different states, like people are in all these different areas, but they're like so convinced that like this is the right place because I cracked this code. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fascinating just seeing the different approaches, the different interpretations of the same material. And I think that marks it as a good, solid riddle for this sort of thing. Like in, fantasy novels or, mystery novels or thrillers, you'll see these sorts of ciphers or riddles that are just very vague and open to different sorts of interpretation. And to actually see one in real life that someone put together and actually did have a reward at the end of it, it's just really interesting to me. Yeah, it's yeah, I think that is kind of one of the coolest parts of this, the fact that just one page worth of poetry can be interpreted in so many different ways. So
Yeah, it's written vaguely enough. I think somebody in the show says that too, that like it could just be interpreted so many different ways, especially when you have that much land. And I don't remember, we didn't even get to the guy who finds this yet per se, but do we know where along the like clues that person put together to actually find the thing? Like, because you know, the poem is good, but then as this documentary goes on, Forrest himself does start to add more clues in. So I wonder if those narrowed it down to where somebody actually did finally find the treasure, or you know what I mean? Because he was even like cutting out states for a while there, which is, I mean, it's a pretty damn
Yeah.
good clue.
Yeah.
Like, it's not in Utah. Okay, there goes like a tenth of our land, whatever.
I could be mistaken, but I don't feel like we really learn very much at all about the guy who found it or like what his methodology was. I mean,
Mm.
if I'm being honest, in retrospect, I get the feeling that because they couldn't actually get that guy to participate in this documentary, they found all these other groups to try to like build a narrative around.
That could be true. He definitely was, they tried to keep his identity secret for a while after, it was announced that it had been found. Then eventually they, had to get his name out there. But I'm guessing he declined to be interviewed for this. I'm
Yeah.
guessing. Yeah.
It's also a possibility because it's a documentary on Netflix. Like maybe that guy just had a really boring personality and like would not have made good TV, I don't know.
That's quite possible
That
too.
could be. I mean, I get the sense that he really, I mean, apparently he was going to stay anonymous, but revealed his identity because there was a lawsuit coming out that he was expecting would reveal his identity anyway.
Mm.
But it seems like he really didn't want any part of like any public discussion of the whole thing,
yeah,
which I think
and
kind
when
of fueled more conspiracy theories. But what were you going to say,
yeah,
Justin?
yeah, and it's like once the treasure was revealed, and you get all these other hunters who are like, "Well, who is it? If it was actually revealed, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't this person, reveal who he is?" Gee, I wonder. Maybe because there have been death threats against Forrest himself, and stalkers and whatnot.
Yeah,
I
there's
Yeah.
can't imagine why he'd want to remain anonymous.
299,995 people out there looking for him.
It did feel weird. I mean, I totally understand him wanting to remain anonymous, but I feel like a lot of the, demand for him to reveal himself might have been quelled if Forrest had just revealed where it was. Like,
Yeah.
once he said someone found it, like, just be like, all right, this is where it was. This is what the poem meant. Like, this is how you could have found it. I feel like that would have gone a long way to kind of getting people to chill the fuck out a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely, at least the way the documentary portrayed it, he seemed to be like still very evasive and vague, even
Yeah.
after announcing it had been found, which seems like just ridiculous. Like, why the hell, after all this, would you do that?
Yeah.
It just made it even worse. Uh, but I guess to come back to a question you posed earlier, that I started to allude to and then backed off of was the fact that it seemed like uh the way to get to the treasure was all laid out like right in the book that he wrote, which he said the clues are in the book. And then as was watching this, I kept thinking none of these people are using the book to try and find this treasure. They're just reading a vague poem and saying, "Hey, that place fits."
Hmm.
Yeah.
When the treasure literally was like 100 yards away from a photo that he put in the book.
Yep.
And like I was like astounded. And that the as far as I know, that the guy who found it, which we can talk about here in just a moment, but he literally just used those clues in the book to find it, and boom, there it was. So I that part I was just like blown away by how many people seem to latch onto this idea of this treasure hunt and then did not use all the information available to them.
Am I?
That's the way they portrayed it.
Let's go back to the beginning here for 1 second. Did he write this book? Am I to understand that he wrote the book? It was just a memoir that he had written, and he put this treasure hunt in there to sell more copies of his memoir?
Yep.
Or did he fake write a memoir around a treasure hunt that he wanted to do? Because I got the impression like he was like, I'm going to write this book. Wait, nobody's going to read it. Hold on, I'll put some treasure in the woods and add this poem in there. But also, like, clearly the dude was loaded to be like, I'm going to sell, $500,000 worth of copies of my memoir, and I'll put $3 million out. And he wasn't great at math, apparently, but
I think
I
it's
mean,
probably
I
a matter
admit,
of wanting
like
to be
I had
remembered.
the thought that perhaps the treasure was fake and it was just a way to sell books.
I
Yeah.
mean, it would be a great way to sell some books.
Yeah. It's like, oh, sorry, all you apparently 300,000 people who bought this, you're apparently just not smart enough to figure out my clues.
Didn't they say at one
then
point, wasn't it selling for like $40 or something crazy like that too? I feel like at one point in the documentary, the woman who like ran the bookstore mentioned a price, and I think it was like pretty pricey for the book.
Could have. I didn't remember that, but yeah.
well, this is like the same phenomenon as that when during COVID when I tried to do the Kane's Jawbone mystery. And it was like you could only import a copy from Britain or maybe spend like $80 for a book on eBay is basically the same thing.
It was $35,
35.
which still is
Is that before
a
tariffs
lot
or was it
for.
printed here?
Pretty pricey for a memoir of someone you have no idea
Yeah,
who they
well,
are.
and
Yeah.
especially this started in what, 2010, so that would have been even more back then.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, on that note, had any of you heard of this guy or this hunt before the documentary came out?
I had, and I don't really remember like how I heard about it, but it may have been a podcast I used to listen to, or like part of me feels like I might have seen one of the TV segments he was on, but like I kind of vaguely knew that there was like a weird millionaire who actually hid a treasure somewhere, but I don't think I knew that someone had supposedly found it.
It was featured in an episode of Expedition Unknown in 2015,
Oh, okay.
the series with Josh Gates. It was
That bastard.
if in a web series episode, BuzzFeed Unsolved True Crime. There was a separate episode of. Oh wait, it must be like a follow up to Expedition Unknown. That episode. So there was like on in TV and things, some other sources to see this in.
I can't remember if I've heard of this before or not, to be quite honest. It wouldn't be impossible that I had stumbled across this at some point in passing, but I didn't really remember it going into it, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think this was the first time I'd heard of it myself. So,
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it either. So, I guess let's get into treasure found ? On June 6, 2020, Fenn himself on the blog or the whatever they had a website for kind of a little community they had for this, announced that the treasure had been found. And as I said, it was kind of vague about how he announced it. But as it turns out, if you believe the story, it was found by a man named Jack Stoof, who, we know almost nothing about this guy other than his name. And later on, he sold the majority of the treasure at auction for about $1.3 million. And the treasure was found in Yellowstone National Park, just a short distance away from one of the places that he highlighted in the book. I mean, we kind of when we talk about that, like there's a lot of people that just didn't believe that it had been found and that it was just, a lot of doubt there. There's people just, like being very, like frantic about it and like emailing Forrest and like writing him and be like, well, this can't possibly be true. And like
Because
Jack
usually the one who
Stauff
finds it.
is an anagram for factures, which apparently means the act of making or doing anything, especially of a literary, musical, or pictorial production. So you could say that Jack Stauff himself is a made-up fabrication. I don't believe it.
Could be.
The cipher fits.
Yes.
Yes. Like Justin, you alluded to this idea that like people were like emailing him and finding out and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but that whether or not there was anything left for them in his will, in Forrest's will afterwards. As if because they'd been a part of this treasure hunt so long that they deserved part of it essentially, or something. The fanaticism around it afterwards, that blew me away almost as much as the fanaticism of the hunt itself.
I mean, that's what happens when you dangle a sizable amount of money in front of a lot of people, unfortunately. Like, and then hand it to somebody, or in their eyes, hand it to somebody else. They feel like they've somehow been wronged or cheated or, just deprived of what was quote unquote rightfully theirs, which just floors me.
Kind of makes me wonder how many people go into like psychotic rage because they bought a lottery ticket and didn't win.
Right? I've been playing the lottery for 25
Like,
years.
seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird to see.
Well, definitely makes me
like,
think of like somebody who wins the lottery, how many crazy people must really come out of the woodwork, like they say.
Yeah.
Or shit, in our family, when we had a relative pass away, we still have relatives from far away asking where their chunk of the money is. And we're like, what money are you referring to?
My God.
There wasn't any money. Well, there must be some somewhere. No, there really isn't. Please stop talking to us. That's
Wow.
basically where some of those members are at this point. So,
Yikes.
Yeah, money turns people into terrible things sometimes.
that's right. So get rid of it while you can. Nintendo Switch 2 on sale for just kidding.
You are kidding about it being on sale.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Womp
guess
womp.
it is
Unless
not
you're in
on
the
sale.
UK, in which case you could actually pre-order it.
Or if you're in Japan and you can get it for like $130
Yeah.
cheaper.
Oh.
Anyway,
So I guess moving on, we might as well, since I just announced it basically. So we did have Forrest does die in September of 2020, which was just or would that be just a few months after the announcement that it was found, which I'm sure that even that led people to be skeptical of something.
yeah.
But essentially, treasure was found and he just passed away. I don't think they said he the cancer he went into remission or whatever. It wasn't dealing with that anymore, I don't think. But I mean, he was just 90, so I'm sure it was just
Yeah, I think they said
natural causes, but
like he had the diagnosis, did the treasure hunt, and then like conquered it right away, and was like, oh,
Yeah. Was I just watched the final episode earlier today. His grandson said it was a massive heart attack in his sleep, I believe.
oh, that's right.
Oh, okay. Yes.
He said, like, it's probably not the way he thought he would have gone, but it was not, the worst way that one could go.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That being said, I think he's still alive, so that is me. I think he's in a box
Well,
somewhere.
the grandson reads that letter that he said he gets mail from that same person like twice a week, and I think that was implying that that person doesn't think Forrest is actually dead and that like it's all a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, it's crazy.
Mm. But good news for them, the hunt is not over. As as I know we were, my wife and I were pretty blown away by the way this documentary ends.
Yeah.
And I purposely did not mention that at all upon bringing this up to you guys, because I wanted that reaction out of you guys too. But so we get at the end of this, we find that Justin Posey, one of the hunters that we've been getting interviews with this whole time, afterwards he went. Well, first he went and he tried to buy the treasure outright from what's his name, Jack Stoof. When that fell through and it went to auction, he did manage to buy a few of those pieces.
I wish they would have I wish they would have explained that a little bit more, because he said that he made an offer which was accepted, and then all of a sudden it's like, but that didn't work out, so they like parceled it off and sold it in lots. And it's like,
Yeah, that was
what
very
happened there?
vague. Yeah. I don't know if the guy like thought he was going to get more money out of doing it auction, maybe.
Maybe.
He like backed out because he's like, hold on, I can get more out of this.
I was wondering about that too, because Forrest had estimated it was like $1 to $3 million.
Yeah.
And then the bid was accepted, but then when they pieced it out, didn't he get like 1.3 for
It
it?
was like just over $1 million, which I would imagine Justin's offer would have had to have been at least $1 million, like based on what they thought it was
Right.
worth. I don't know.
Yeah.
It did seem weird. I'll say that.
Yeah. And so this new treasure that Justin has crafted himself actually contains some of these items that he bought from the Forrest Fenn treasure.
That dragon bracelet is pretty sweet.
It is.
I gotta say.
It does look pretty cool.
This one, just kidding.
And I don't know if you guys took time to look for it, but
For just $46.14, you can buy a copy of Justin's book on Amazon. It's marked down from the list price of $49.98. What a deal.
what a
Back
deal.
now before the tariffs get worse.
So he does have he has his own book. He has his own poem, which I will read shortly.
Ooh.
But he there's also a quite nicely created webpage for this as well. This is treasure.quest. Nice straightforward URL there. But yeah, he has his own book. He's got a treasure that he says he buried out somewhere. Same style as Forrest did, just out in the wilderness somewhere. This treasure contains gold bars, gold flake, gold dust, not the wrestler.
The wrestler.
Precious gemstones, historical artifacts, a piece of meteorite that he stuck in there. And apparently it contains some Bitcoin as well. So we'll see where that goes by the time it's found. But
Not realizing the meteorite slowly leaching radiation into everything else in the box. So
that would be something. Open it up and you just die.
Oh man, you have to be 18 years or older to access the webpage. It's an adult
Yes.
treasure hunt.
So that was
it's
one
a
of the questions.
quest.
That's true. That was one of the questions I had almost immediately at the conclusion of this documentary was like, he not that much before that, he was like voicing his concerns over like doing this treasure hunt and all this stuff. And then like, by the way, I'm doing one too. But you literally have to agree to a terms and conditions just to view the website, which I feel is a pretty straightforward way of being like, hey, I'm not liable for anything you idiots do.
Smart.
So yeah, at least I hope he's got his rear end covered with that. But he does have a poem on here, which I feel is a much more is a better crafted poem than what Forrest wrote. So this is titled "Beyond the Map's Edge." Can you find what lives in time, flowing through each measured rhyme? Wisdom waits in shadowed sight for those who read these words just right. As hope surges clear and bright, walk near water's silent flight. Round the bend, past the hole, I wait for you to cast your pole. In Ursa East, his realm awaits. His bride stands guard at ancient gates. Her foot of 3 at 20 degree. Return her face to find the place. Double arcs on granite bold, where secrets of the past still hold. Beyond the reach of time's swift race, wonder guards this sacred space. Truth rests not in clever minds, not in tangled, twisted finds. Like a river's steady flow, what you seek, you already know.
He put it in the exact spot that the original treasure was. That's what this poem tells me.
That'd be really funny.
That would be incredible.
I was picking up that it was the Cold Rocks hold from the Aiel Waste, based on the
Oh,
clues with the
okay.
arches and there was some stuff in there that made me think. I'm just saying.
Like it. I like it.
Yep.
But yeah,
Interesting.
I feel like so the poem that Forrest crafted was quite simplistic in some some ways, and I feel like this poem was like actually quite well written, but possibly something we could come back to later.
So this is just and I haven't read anything about what this guy has done prior to this exact moment with you guys. So is this him saying that it is anywhere, or is this in the United States, or has that been disclosed?
I haven't dug too deep into it. But the so on the website it has a map that includes basically the entire western half of the United States and also a large detail of Alaska,
Jesus.
which seems
Way safer.
right.
does the
I guess
last
actually
the last section of his the agreement that you have to agree to before accessing the site does say this treasure hunt originates in the United States. International participants acknowledge that their participation may be subject to additional laws and regulations in their home countries, and it kind of goes on from there. So it implies that it is very much in the U.S.
So Greenland, probably.
I'm sorry,
It,
it's
there is
Blue Land.
in the FAQ on his website, there's a section for the search that says one of the questions is where do I go searching, and it says the American West. So,
okay.
and he does say the map on the homepage shows the search area.
Oh, there you go. So
Okay.
which yeah, it's the entire western half, so an even larger range than what Forrest hinted
Yeah.
at. But I was, as I say, I was just really blown away by the way this ends with.
Is this when this becomes a treasure hunting podcast?
You bet it does.
This is what we're doing every week from now on for the next 900 years.
I feel like we were going to do this like 2 years ago. Justin bought that book. What was that treasure hunt called?
That's
Oh,
right,
The
yeah.
Secret.
The
Yeah, which
Secret.
if we want to cover that at some point, I'm more than, or if all of us together want to actually try to figure that out, I'm up for that too.
Let's go dig up Milwaukee, see what we find. Hint, it's going to be beer.
Old beer.
Beer. Well, this is interesting.
Oh,
Whoa.
I'm just looking at the facts again. Like, so at the end of the documentary, they show like his treasure stash. One of the questions in the fact is, what is the treasure hidden in? A treasure chest? The answer is the treasure was photographed inside a saddleback leather 16-inch grandfather briefcase. This was used for display purposes only and is not what the treasure is hidden in.
Ooh.
When you find the actual treasure, its container will be immediately recognizable. I've intentionally kept the true container's identity secret. For those familiar with Fenn's treasure, no, it is not hidden in the Fenn chest, and you don't need any knowledge of the Fenn treasure hunt to recognize the container.
Oh, so
Huh.
he didn't put it in the box? That's
He
disappointing.
did not put it in the box, but it's also not in the briefcase that they show it in at the end of the documentary, apparently.
It's not necessarily in the briefcase.
Yeah.
Fair.
Double swerve.
Well, no, it does say that it's not what the treasure is hidden in.
Ah, but therefore it is.
Okay.
Huh.
So did he end up with the box? Was that part of what he
I-
purchased from the auction? Because they kind of made it look that way, but I wasn't sure.
I don't
I
know.
thought he bought the box and had the treasure in the new box, so this is blowing my mind right now.
The only thing I recognize for sure is that it looks like he did get the dragon bracelet, which is also apparently part of his treasure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what all he got beyond the bracelet.
And some coins, which we do see, I think, as in like the
Yeah.
shot we get of the new treasure.
This says his treasure weighs approximately 60 pounds and contains multiple kilogram gold bars, each worth about $100,000 at current rates, alongside numerous gold coins, all kinds. Oh man. So he doesn't even give an estimate of how much the total treasure is worth.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I do like his little walkthrough he has on the site that kind of goes through each of the clues from the old one, though. That's kind of nice. He has like a picture instruction guide how to get from point A to point B, too.
Hmm. I did like that he states straight out that he hid clues within the documentary itself
Yeah.
to the hunt that not even the producers were aware he was doing, which I think was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Which then also led me led me down to like question whether like what was the documentary like who made it? Was like, did he make it? Like, did he fund it so that it was just advertisement for this thing, or was it like how did that come about then? You know,
It's
like
certainly a way to drive repeat views on Netflix. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to get that viewership up, that's just how
Mhm.
you do it.
I mean, I feel like
Wait a second.
what you got, Cody?
I thought they said in the documentary, didn't Forrest continually say over and over that the chest wasn't buried?
I think so.
Because on this photos from Jack Stauff that he sent to Forrest Fenn, which were publicly viewable after this court case, there's 5 photos here, and they clearly show like there's maybe like a couple millimeters of the box above land, and the rest of it's buried underneath.
Well, did they I don't remember if he said it wasn't buried or if he said that he never said that it was buried.
Hmm.
That
But also
the last part sounds plausible.
Justin said like when he found where he was pretty sure the treasure was, which it seemed like the documentary at least was telling us that that was the correct location. Um, he said that he thought the clue about the blaze was a tree that had fallen over and that it was originally like under the tree. So it seems I wasn't sure. I thought he was saying that maybe the tree fell over after Forrest put the box there. So
yeah, they
I don't
were
know.
yeah. And even just like it's I think it's like a heavily like it's all like a pine evergreen forest in that area too, I believe. So you could just like pine trees drop a lot of shit out of
Yeah.
and like that box
Yeah.
would get buried real quick. And if it
Well,
had been out there for like
that's true.
you know whatever, how long was this now? I lost track
Uh,
of math.
88
Uh,
or something is when he had the
2010
idea. That's when he had the cancer diagnosis.
2010 he put the book out. So
yeah,
2010 to
it's
2020,
10
10
years.
years.
Yeah, so a decade. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Justin and his brother had been like right near where that was apparently and like
Mhm.
didn't see the box. So it seems like it maybe it was not that obscured originally, but like shit fell on it and it kind of got buried over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
But
It definitely wasn't under Boulder.
Definitely was not
No.
under a boulder.
oh, the sheer amount of time and elbow grease that family spent hacking away at that boulder.
Like over a year, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
think they
2
said
years.
2 years. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
2 years. That's
Which
crazy.
also how? How did they for 2 years? I don't.
Because they had it stuck in their head that this has to be where it is.
No, I know, but I'm saying
Yeah.
literally how did it take them that long to break a boulder?
Have you ever broken a boulder, Cody?
I mean, I've taken out some patio cement stuff underground, which is pretty damn heavy
I
duty.
mean,
but
I was surprised it took them that long to get to dynamite because
yes,
Well, they
I
didn't want to
bet
blow
they
up the
had
treasure.
access to some explosives, you know,
They seem like people who would have tried that
or
first.
or at least some fertilizer.
drill hole, insert dynamite, run,
Yeah.
preferably like fuse.
I was man, they really had me convinced though. Like I thought they were onto it.
Yeah,
I
and
felt bad for that family. I
I did
did.
too.
I wanted them to find it because they were so passionate about, like, they were all passion and very little logical thinking.
Yeah.
Other people were kind of flipped on that a little bit, I feel like. And then we had Justin, he lost his brother out there.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
rough. Made me feel some feelings.
That was
Uh,
that was even weirder because it felt like his brother was like not really that interested in the treasure hunt. And then like the next thing he knew, he's like, oh, he's out there by himself in that area and the worst has happened. It was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
yeah,
Didn't he like paint something about Fenn on the rock near where he killed himself?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely don't dive into that situation
Yeah.
much, but you have to believe that his brother was probably heavily depressed, I'm guessing. And why he was out there, well, I'll just have to guess at, but
Has anybody tried to track down where the actual treasure chest box is from? Is there any online resources devoted to that? Like, that's a very distinct looking
Yeah,
box.
it is.
I don't know that that's a one of one, but that's not just something you find in a random shop. But then again, it wasn't, you said he was like a collector of antiquities and shit.
mhm.
So,
And apparently it was made out of bronze, the box itself.
oh shit, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a part where
Oh,
Justin in the show is like, I even went through and taught my dog how to sniff out bronze, and
oh
it's just like,
yeah.
oh wow, that's actually
Well,
quite
maybe it is a
something.
one out of one then.
But
It's a
Well,
weird looking box.
It's pretty
seems like
cool looking.
Got a bunch
we
of
are
I just
winding down here.
beings climbing
Any
ladders.
further thoughts?
oh,
Um,
it's
I'm
an
kind of
interesting
Oh, go ahead,
miniseries.
Justin.
I was just gonna say it's an interesting miniseries. Like I went from not knowing anything about all this at all to being kind of intrigued with how it ended up. So it's it's definitely worth a look, I would say.
I was curious what you guys thought about it as like the treasure itself and whatnot aside, like how did you feel about it as a documentary series? Like the as far as how it's structured and produced and all those things.
Well, Cody, do you want to throw a number on this thing? We we always have like numbers on these.
your
Do we?
podcast. You tell us.
I'm ready to throw a number on this.
How about how
do
about
me
we
last.
do
I
like
can come up with one.
um on scale of 1 to 10, how much like would you recommend this to other people to watch? How
That's
about
fair.
just something like that, just simple and clean. Then you can talk about
Okay.
how you enjoyed it.
Okay.
All right, I give this a 5 out of 10. I think the treasure hunt itself, I mean, the fact that someone actually buried a treasure and like put this all together is super interesting. This should have been like a 90-minute documentary movie. It did not need to be a 3 hour, three-part series. That's Netflix does this all the time and it drives me crazy. Like, I don't know what their algorithm is that they need shit to be this long and drawn out, but
Or do they
especially,
need all that time to hide all the clues?
Yes.
maybe. Well, my biggest problem is, like I said, especially when I got to the end of it and looking back, and none of these people are the ones that found the treasure. They don't talk to the guy who actually did find the treasure in this documentary. It
Mm,
really did feel to me like because they couldn't get that guy to be directly involved, they wanted to try to create a narrative of some sort. So they brought in all these random people that, like, ultimately didn't really have anything to do with it, at least not more so than the 299,997 other participants that were, after it. So like I think the treasure itself is like intriguing, but I think as a series it just, especially like the last episode, Alexis watched this with me, and in the first 10 minutes, like she's right, they basically say the same thing over and over again about like, oh, we thought we had it, but then no one, like, throughout the series, they just repeat the same shit over and over, and it did not need to be as long as it was. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily tell anyone not to watch it, especially if they're intrigued by like the idea of a treasure hunt, but I just feel like it could have been done a lot better. 5 out of 10, period.
Hmm. Well, uh, I would go higher than that. I did enjoy it. I liked the eccentric characters. I did like kind of getting to know each of the treasure hunters. And like I said, the real guy had been on there. I don't know. We don't know what his story is, so we can't comment on what it would have been. For all we know, he could have been the driest guy of all who like joined the. Well, we do know he had a history on the Reddit board, I guess, because they did track down his username and stuff on
Right,
there.
yeah.
But I mean, maybe this guy was very like logically ABC, and this is where I went, and then I found it, and like that's not really a satisfying take on what this meant for people either. So I did like the story, especially as like something like I said, I'm not sure if I've heard of this before or not. So I'd probably give this like oh oh what would I give this? Maybe like a 195,000 out of 300,000, which comes out to about a 6.5 overall. So that's what I'm going to go with on that.
Also, I'm sorry, I have to interject with one more thought. I'm so sorry, everyone,
Well,
because I kind of joked about this earlier, and Justin's background almost touches on it. But because the conclusion of this whole thing is so unsatisfactory, there is a section where they interview like the disparate groups of people that failed to find the treasure. And they almost literally say the real treasure hunt was the friends we found along the way. Like, I wanted to fucking throw something at my TV when they got to that. Like, it's all these people trying to act positively about it as if, like, it's okay that I didn't find the $3 million treasure because I had fun doing it with my family. And it felt so forced and it made me so mad. Anyway, end of story. Go on.
You don't think
uh,
that was genuine though?
No,
Not even a
I did
little bit?
not. No, I
No.
I
felt like
mentioned this. I mentioned this because if we are to join forces to do a treasure hunt, and you're going to say you're only happy if we find the final product and not enjoy any of the process, then I don't know if you want. I want you on the team, Joe. Justin, I vote
no.
no. That's one no.
I would
He's not
if
going to have a good time. It's got to be something holding his hands. I got something holding his hands.
going down that tangent for just a sec. I think I would genuinely enjoy if we all put our heads together and just it made the attempt to try and puzzle together this or the secret or some sort of long-standing treasure hunt mystery. It just, I mean, especially because this one at least is states away from where the heck we would actually any of us are and would be able to get to easily. Just the thought process
I
behind
have
it all could
family
be
in
really
Montana. We could probably have a place to stay. I'm
Well,
just
that's
saying.
the real treasure then, Joe.
your family in Montana. But yeah, so I'm game if you guys are. But that said, for this particular mystery and hunt and this particular presentation of it, there is a part of me, especially with how this turned out, and the fact that the other Justin in the show who set up the new treasure hunt has a book and all that, the whole shebang. There is a part of this that really feels like it's just a marketing stunt. Which I mean, kudos to him if he's trying to make a buck. But yeah, I do agree with Joe. They could have trimmed this down significantly, and still gotten the same points across. I enjoyed my time with it overall, but it uh, you meet some interesting people. You do get, a lot of really sometimes disturbing, sometimes just really illuminating details of the whole hunt itself, both the good and the bad. So it's certainly worth a watch. But is it a good documentary on its own merit? That's arguable. So I'd probably give this a 6 out of 10, just in terms of like it's worth as a documentary in its exploration of the subject. Um, that said, it is definitely thought provoking. It's definitely interesting. It is if you like the idea of a fortune buried out there just waiting to be found, it's certainly worth watch. Despite the rating I gave it.
What did you give it?
So,
Sorry.
6 out of 10.
Okay.
in terms of just its own merits, because it could have been tightened up, it could have been handled maybe a little more smoothly, but I've certainly watched worse things.
Yes.
So
I was going to mention too, because obviously we didn't explicitly say it, but they do mention in the documentary as well, like this is also different than a lot of other famous treasure hunts because someone actually found the treasure and it came to an end, which is that cannot be
Supposedly.
stated enough. Yes, supposedly
but yeah, so that's
Justin
me.
Posey is Forrest Fenn.
Have you ever seen them in the same room together? I think not.
What all those monitors behind him are doing, they're projecting a holographic person to be like, well, then I went over here.
He's actually AI.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, let me see. I definitely my wife and I enjoyed this quite a bit. We actually binged through it in one evening, which we should not have done because we stayed up way later than we should have. But we got through the second episode. We're like, we gotta see how this ends. And so we watched the last episode that night again, right away. I definitely enjoyed. Uh, it's kind of like there's been an exercise in like people watching. It's just like it. I definitely, if you stripped it down to like just the facts about it, it easily could have been just like a single episode, and still been very interesting, because just in it, on the base, it's just the story around it is really interesting. Just the and not like a treasure hunt, myself as well, and it just a lot of like interesting events and things around it, but the fact that they gave us this particular set of hunters uh felt like a very good choice just from like an entertainment standpoint. They were all interesting for in various ways, and they all were like different personalities as well. It's not like you had a bunch of like crazy people. You had like Justin is like was doing all this high tech stuff, and like wrote he himself wrote a facial recognition program to try and figure out when Forrest Fenn was telling the truth in his
That's
interview,
right.
which was incredible. Like that's the lengths he went to figure this out. Um, and still couldn't do it, but uh, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I agree. It could have been shorter, but the length that what they gave us, we enjoyed it all straight through. So, um, personally, for me, I would recommend this fairly highly. I think even if you aren't into like treasure hunts, I think it's still pretty entertaining. So, I'm gonna give this 8 out of 10. Why not? I enjoyed it quite a bit, so why not give it a good number?
Okay. All right.
And with
Well,
that, I think we are done and heading out here. Unless anybody else has some closing thoughts.
I was just going to ask Brett once the show was done and they revealed like this guy had hidden his own stuff in the episodes, which at the time I watched it, the exact moment I was like, I don't have time for this right now. But like
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things about Blair Witch 2 is like going back and looking for all the weird crap in the movie. I
Mm.
was instantly curious though, like, have you and your wife looked into this already?
We haven't gone back. We actually did rewatch a couple of episodes earlier today just to kind of freshen up on some of
Yeah.
the things that people said and did. Um, but we haven't really tried to go in depth into what the clues might be. We definitely think that on all those computer screens behind him, one of those images is, if not exactly where the treasure is buried, it's probably very close to it. And we also suspected the clock, because
Yeah.
like Joe mentioned, he like sets the time on the clock at one point. I
yeah,
would
that
not
felt
be
like a
shocked.
purposeful shot to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a clue. Um, and then everything around like the story with his brother, because that felt like very meaningful to him.
Hmm.
Almost certainly something with this has to do with that, I feel. But that would mean that the treasure was buried very close to where the first one was, because they were like hunting in Yellowstone at that time. So
Right.
of course, no, that I think they said his brother was found in like Tucson. It was a completely different spot. So maybe Tucson, Arizona is a place to start.
Let's go.
Okay.
So with that, tonight we've had Cody and Joe and Justin here with us, and I am Brett, and we are Friends Occasion Not Disagreeing podcast. And guess we're getting on here. And what else we got coming up? Is there
We
any-
got our big spring TV shows coming up here pretty quick. So Wheel of Time,
Wheel of Time
season
soon.
3, Daredevil,
Daredevil.
Born Again, Last of Us season 2, which is just getting started as we're recording this, and then Andor, if anybody's crazy enough to watch that, season 2. So Joe, that was your cue, buddy.
Meh,
Oh, good, he's done with it too.
Glowing review.
meh. I'm kind of, I don't know. I love season 1, but I'm just kind of over all of Star Wars at this point, I think. We'll see.
Season 2 has Boba Fett though.
That's not a selling point.
Well, I was just stating.
Wasn't the book of Boba Fett the very first episode of this podcast?
It was.
My
Was.
God.
It all
Wow.
comes back around.
Yep.
Wow.
And with
It
that,
was.
we're out of here. We will see you guys in the next episode.
Maybe the true Star Wars was the friends we made along the way.
Oh, yes.
Forrest Fenn wishes he was Lazarus Lake.
Forrest Fenn's body is in a box somewhere out there. Try to
Don't
find
dig
it,
it up.
guys. Well, okay, yeah.